All right, we are live once again. I did take a little hiatus from going live, uh, but now a lot of people have requested me to have my live chats once again because mine are more or less directed to audience participation, question answer, and discussion. We all get into some decent discussions here on the live uh, broadcast. But to recap what happened, the reason you didn't hear from me for a week, and also I would like to thank all the people who got the message about my other channel, subscribe to it, and if you can please look into doing so, I'm going to make a video thanking everyone. Leave a link to it because when I was suspended here on the Cobra 49 channel, I could still post videos and do live broadcast on Cobra's Precious Metals. So some people knew about it, and I did try to get out live about a couple different things. And I did post some firearms videos on that channel, okay, which I'm going to repost them on my normal channel now. But yes, um, so like the title of this says, this week, I was suspended, number one. But the things that have happened this week, and there were, reviewing our budget firearms, uh, there were several deals that come up this week also, which I kind of jumped on the bandwagon there. I don't know if they still are or not, but they were very great values, and from all the standard places. Okay. But, a lot of things did happen, a lot of it political. I know most people come here to talk about the old guns and everything else, but it's very scary. Okay. The murder of that poor girl in Charlotte, uh, Charlie Kirk being assassinated. And this is, a lot of it is tied into people from the gun community and 2A and all that. A lot of the different channels that do a lot of firearms stuff are worked up over it. Of course, there's Redacted, who he covers everything from the government controlling the weather to all the latest conspiracies and this and that. But even him, generally, he's a pretty good, pretty level-headed podcast, if you want to call that. Of course, some of his theories and some of the people, it gets a little out there and a lot of conspiracy stuff. Uh, but generally, he's pretty much a sensationalist. Okay, that's his thing. But I do watch some of the videos. Some of them get a little long and a little weird, but I do like his channel. But even now, I heard him starting to do his little fireside chat things where he just speaks his mind, and you know, kind of leaning towards the, uh, and like what Charlie Kirk said, not to provoke or spread violence. I'm hearing a lot of people saying they're fed up, and I'm hearing a lot of people on the right saying that they're, condoning retaliation for what has happened. That's not good. Okay. Um, yeah, the left has really broadcast a lot of stuff, said a lot of bad things, but could get out of control. And the thing is, YouTube, I mentioned something on sale, a firearm on sale, and they suspend me or threaten to shut my whole channel down. And yet these people are out there promoting violence, and they're never silenced because the side they're on is allowed to do that. that. And, you know, I don't know. Let's get some comments here. I got 4 people showing up. Bone been live for 5 minutes. Let's see. Or does anybody have any gun questions? We can skip over the whole thing because the internet is full of it. My brain almost exploded. With his assassination, there are going to be a slew of conspiracy things, and God only knows how long that will drag on. But as far as guns, there's still the economy is bad and the prices are down. And if you do your shopping online like I do, you know, a lot of people, especially when I get something about ARs, I get 40, 50,000 people viewing the video. Oh, where are these places? So, well, you got to shop online. Okay, you got to go around and do this. And yeah, you'll find it. You won't find it at the gun show. You're not going to go to your local gun store and have them selling something at this price point because this is a larger place that's trying to unload inventory. And there's several things that come up. I got a couple Beretta pistols. I got an 84 BB. Actually, I'm loading up one video now. That should be up in a day or two. Yep, that's going along fine. And I more or less tell you the place that had it at the lowest price. And even though when I got it, it kind of had some rust on there, but after cleaning it up, it come out okay. And then the 34s that have been around for over a year, that whatever weird thing they did where they screwed up with the barrels, well, I guess they're at the bottom of the barrel with them, and they're running specials on them, and you can't find brand new replacement barrels. So whatever they did, whatever they soldered or pinned or welded on to the front end of the barrel, they screwed them up. So they were putting new barrels on them. They were selling new barrels. Now they're dried up. I bought a couple used ones. I believe they're probably trashed out and damaged. And what I did is I bought those because I'm going to go and machine the ends off. And I'll make a video on what it will be. I'll do the introduction on YouTube and then have the actual process of what I'm doing on Rumble, because on YouTube, that's totally forbidden, because I will remachine the end. And you kind of got 2 choices. You can either machine off and shorten the barrel to get past all the nasty stuff and then just recut the end and refinish it, which I think our guns sold a bunch of these guns that had that same exact thing done. If you want to see a good example of one, it's Hobo Factory. He has one from our guns, and there's a couple other videos there, but he's the one, he does a good explanation, and I think he takes it apart. But the thing is about the gun, and I'll demonstrate it, the reason that barrel sticks out that half inch or whatever, that's part of the takedown. You have to push the barrel backwards to unlock it. And so, you know, that's why it's there. Shortening that may impede field stripping. So we have to look into it. But maybe I should have changed the title. But anyway, I was hoping to get a few more people on here today, unless the weather's too nice. Now, I was doing my budget AR series, I was backlogged. I have taken the guns out. I have did a overview of the firearms, and haven't quite gotten the videos uploaded to my suspension. And so now I have a backlog of videos. I have videos I have to upload, and more information, more stuff will be coming out on those. And like I said, there's some other great deals. So there's more stuff to go over, overview, shoot, and every other fun thing. Plus reloading. The 22-250 is unrestricted because more or less the individual that wants me to do this for him, I wanted to leave it open where he can see it. Generally, it would be a members video where you get the information in that. Also, when I got gigged for the making ammunition with casting the bullets, I just went, I got 17 years worth of video. There's over 3,000 of them. Okay. So I just put cast bullets, and everything that was cast bullets or shows me casting bullets or anything like that all got switched over to a member's video. So that's where being a member, and I mean, some of them have been up for years and they had thousands of views on it. I don't like doing that, but I don't like getting suspended either for this nonsense. It's something I made 4 or 5 years ago and I can't even really remember what the hell it is. And I get burned. So, really not drawing in the crowds. I did yesterday. I thought for sure after, okay, standard, after yesterday that I would get some more reviews or viewers. I thought for sure put it out. I know several of my subscribers that always show up to my lives did pop up on a random when I just randomly did it. So maybe I have to put a notice out. But nobody's commented or fielded any questions here in about 15 minutes. So unless I get some more viewers coming in, of course, doing this unexpectedly with being silenced for a week, probably most people did not schedule or think I was here and would come in. But, 3 viewers, let's see. Oh, my competitors are doing more. Well, I'm almost neck and neck with them, with viewers. I guess people got better things to do on their Sunday than sit around and listen to us chat. But I was hoping that a few of the guys that come to all of these live chats would show up. But I guess not. And there's no comments or discussion, so don't know what to go on talking about. But yeah, a lot of things happened this past week. A lot of them are not good. Really worried about the future of all the country and society as a whole. I mean, now we're looking at stuff where people are outraged, people are fed up, and there could be unrest again. Will this create another gun rush or panic buying or whatever? I'm not quite sure. All right. The president's already deployed, I guess, the National Guard to Washington, D.C. and Chicago. Another thing that's kind of grim. I personal opinion is I agree, yeah, things are out of control in them cities. And it appears that the elected officials there are not doing anything to make it better. Okay. I mean, it really is a sad day when, the United States has gotten to the point where we just have to deploy the National Guard to restore law and order. I mean, that is not the way our country should be. All right. I mean, that to me, that's also frightening and unnerving that things have gotten so bad. All right. Uh, so, yeah, a lot going on. There we go. John shows up. I seen you come over to my other, threw some comments up on my other channel, and thank you, you and all those guys that come there and got subscriptions and were checking out the videos I had to post during my suspension. I thank you guys very much. Really, it helped out a lot. But now trying to get back on course here, and like the title says it, there's a lot of things. Most people here, they come for the gun question and answers, not so much politically. But there were some viewers that get into the political stuff. But unfortunately, things have gotten to the point where you kind of can't ignore it. Okay, and that's why I moved out of the city of Yes, Pittsburgh. It's not good. Okay, I'm from upstate New York, and I know that those major cities. It's kind of like Binghamton. Binghamton's a shell of what it was. Okay, it's desolate there. It was a big industrial city at one time, and now it's just full of these. I think they said they had a Frito-Lay factory where they hired people as day laborers. You'd get a ticket, you take the bus to the factory, you run the machine, you get something, come back and get paid in cash right there. It's unreal. But yeah, where did you move to from Pittsburgh? So I moved down to North Carolina. I'm in the Greensboro area, which isn't bad. Winston-Salem area is, not as good as Greensboro and Charlotte. Charlotte, always the crime rate, when we first moved here, and my wife looked up the crime rate in Charlotte, where this other tragedy happened, is 4 times higher than Greensboro per capita. So that's something that's always been there. Get the name. Oh, okay. You still stayed in the state. Country. All right. No, I left the whole damn state. Kernersville. Kernersville ain't that bad, and it's kind of weird. You drive out on 40, you get to Kernersville, heading towards Winston, and it's kind of a small town there with the 2 main roads. There was a gun shop I used to go there, and then there's a biker bar that all the guys I hang out with in Greensboro, what they'll do is they'll ride from Greensboro on 40 up to Double D's, and then when they do their circuit, when the bikers go and do their rides for charity or whatever, that's one of the stops, Kernersville. Winston, I had a friend that lived up there. I used to go up to Winston's a little bit rougher. Of course, it's a little bit bigger city, but it ain't bad. It's High Point and some other places there that are really bad. High Point ain't it's been since I moved down here 20 years ago. There was always a issue in that city. And a lot of that's the furniture industry too, which all of that went to China. I mean, them guys told me years ago that they'd walk out of one factory, wherever they were assembling the furniture, go to a catering truck on a street corner and be eating something. And a guy would walk up to him and go, "Where do you work?" "Well, I work at the factory right there." He goes, "What do they pay you an hour?" And the guy would tell him. He goes, "We'll pay you $1.50 more an hour. Finish your eating and come and punch in." And they would actually just steal the workers off the street and offer them more money to come in so they can get the stuff done. It's amazing. And now those areas, it's all desolate. A lot of them companies have shut down. So it's a sad thing. It's a sad thing in this country. Okay, that used to be. See, that's why the crime rate's up. Um, I mean, you're talking factory work, a lot of some of it, you got to learn what to do. And if they train you and show you how to do whatever it is, assembling furniture, running a CNC lathe or something, once you learn the job, it used to be fairly easy to get work. I don't know if you've had to look for work recently. I'm just trying to find a part-time job for an old guy and forget it. I did that thing where you put in 100 applications for anything and everything. And then, you know, see, that's tough. I bought this one, this Treadlock, because my gun dealer had them. And the thing about this one, I think it's a 40 gun safe or something. It's not fireproof. Okay, in other words, it doesn't have the panels in the wall. All right, but it's a good lock. It's a good safe. Um, I don't know these older ones. I bought this thing 40 years ago. I guess there's a way. I don't know if this had the anti-drill thing. You got to read up on them. If somebody tried running a drill through, because some of them seem pretty simple. You drill through there, go in there, you can open them. I think this one has a device in it that if you drill through the plate, it releases something and automatically the pins won't move at all. Once you break the linkage, them pins are there. I don't even know how you'd open it, but it depends. Like you said, there's so many choices. It kind of comes down to what you want. Okay, my neighbor's got 4 or 5 of them for his gun collection, and there's lights and little things to take the moisture out and all this other stuff. And we have to kind of feel. I don't know how old you are, but me, I had to move this thing once, and that's it for me. Now I'm hiring somebody. Okay, I ain't got strength to do it no more. That's another thing. But look it up and see. Well, see, them reviews too are slanted. They pay and get them. Try to find a forum, a gun forum, and pose that question. That's where you'll get a bunch of honest responses from people. See, I never got the fire protection. All right, so that's about it. But I don't even know if Treadlock makes them anymore. Yeah, and there is a model you can pull it apart and move it. So there's a lot of choices, but I'm not an expert on it, and I'm not going to buy another safe. That's it. It's like they said, after they remove me from the house, when I pass on, whatever happens is somebody else's issue. Well, yeah, well, going back to machining, yes, because in the old days, what you did, okay, is you had a set procedure to manufacture a product, no matter what it is. Napkins, guidance system for the space shuttle, okay? You got to have somebody and you got to have someone running a company, and we all agree this is how we're going to machine the part. This is how the process is going to go. And everyone should adhere to it. And I said, because the programming, whoever does the programming, you got to understand how they're doing it and you stick with it. For me to go in there and they have a programmer and I say, well, I don't like the way this tool's running, I'm going to change all this. Okay, you can't have that. That's where the problems start. That's where you get defects in your quality control because you have people adjusting stuff that shouldn't be adjusting it without notifying and informing all the employees. That's the biggest problem, lack of communication. And most of the people managing it are terrified of speaking to anyone because then they'll quit. All right. And yeah, they exploited people. They looked to technology to do it. And, that's why they're hiring people who can't read and write and just stand there and load stuff into a machine and then stack the finished product that comes out of it. That's a problem here. All right, Blaine. That's why I said I've had several people bring that up to me. Several people have asked me that, and so I decided probably it'd be best to do it. Just reschedule things. I was doing things on Sunday, but this time period I could get in a couple hours and then head out and do the things uh, that I usually do on a Sunday. Go visit with people and things like that. Yeah, don't mess with my G code. Well, it's okay if somebody makes a modification, but just tell all the guys running the machine and running the job what you done. Okay, because the place I used to work for, I retired. I go up there and see the owner and the manager and them people and the guys working there. I worked with them for a few years, and I go see them, and there's this one lady. They got everything laid out, gears, spindle, and I'm like, oh boy. And the one kid told me, had someone go in there and change something drastically and did not leave a note or tell anybody. And then when the guy come in to start it, he crashed that thing bad. And if you ever been a machinist on Facebook, they have some pictures in there. I've seen machines get screwed up over the years. In the 40 years I've worked in a factory, I've seen machines, get damaged. Nothing like I've seen on those pictures. The whole bed of a milling machine come through and rip the outer cover or housing of the milling machine in that. And I mean, where they rip spindles right out of the machine. And I've seen holders get melted. That I've seen, but some of that stuff, oh my God. Yeah, what's going to happen? Okay, right now we're in a recession, but we're looking at a depression. I think there's going to be by the end of the year some sort of financial disaster because all of this is tied in. This guy's assassination, the fact that you're getting all this bad stuff in the news. The price of gold and silver has skyrocketed. Actually, that's what I was busy doing. I moved a small chunk of silver that I was holding out, more or less made a small profit just to cover some bills and get myself prepped. I'm not going to sell any more metals because it may escalate. Gold is at 3,600, some another all-time high. Okay, I never had deep enough pockets to accumulate a lot of gold or tie up the money in it. Okay, I've kind of lived my life. I have bills. You need a roof. You need a new car. Stuff like that. I ain't sitting. I don't know how some of these people do it. To sit on this giant pile of stuff and then try to sell it. As far as the guns, the reason I'm making all of these firearms videos on budget, which supposedly budget guns, they're not really budget guns. Okay. A lot of these ARs that I'm reviewing, you are paying the average retail price. Okay, I got to make sure I don't mention things, but say 5.5 to 6 is what these guns went for, which is to me a normal price, a normal MSRP for your basic standard, no frills AR. Okay, that was a fair price. That way everyone's making a little bit of money. So for these things to go now where they're selling them in flash sales at 3.5, okay, that means that these things are sitting in a warehouse somewhere and no one is buying them. And somebody's wholesaling and just getting them out the door. Now, when it comes, and that goes with new handguns, everything. So that market is collapsing. Ammunition is down. There's some companies going out of business. Now, if we look into our Milsurp, like you're saying, Mosin Nagants, okay, there are no Mosin Nagant Russian-made ones that are worth $1,000. Maybe the sniper guns that came in and had the correct scope that weren't made up, because I've seen where some guns were sniper guns and had the receiver plugged up, and if you're good enough, you can drill and tap that out and then go buy a mount and mount it on there. Okay, so that's why it's too easy to fake a sniper. That's why I've always stayed away from them no matter what. Those may be worth, because when you could get a Mosin, well, the thing is, when they came in and one dealer had them, you're buying a standard bolt action Mauser back in the 80s. You were buying them for, say anywhere from 1.25 to 150. And that was the Mausers. He had them Mosins with the scopes on there. There was a batch of them he had. He wanted 350, which that was a little high. That was like my budget for the gun show. I grabbed 1 or 2 guns, maybe 3 if I was lucky. And just to go there and grab a sniper, and they were original, they were correct. So back then, that was the price difference. So now, if you're looking, like you're saying, people are asking 6, they're going to ask, a $1,000 or more for said gun, if it's right. Okay. But what you're seeing right now is, if you go and follow auctions, go to all these different gun auctions from wherever, just go look for them, get email alerts, and I'm seeing a ton Lugers, stuff you don't see coming up, high dollar stuff coming out. And some people are still out there that if something really nice and really correct shows up, they'll buy. But the Mosins, of course, you got to remember, it's usually a 20% commission. They go 3.5 in auctions. But by the time you pay the shipping, this percentage, sales tax, everything up, you're kind of knocking them up into the $500-$600 range. Or something 350. I think the one guy said just 40% of that is what you're going to pay in fees. Okay, so do it quick. You're going to pay another 140. Yeah, so you're looking at 5. On average, they go for 500. If they're going to come down, I found going to local auctions where you can go and look at them are the best thing, because a lot of people there, again, they buy ARs, they buy M1 Garands, they buy M1 carbines, or anything German. They'll pay a ton of money for, whether it's good or junk. And you'll find some, like I bought, if you watch my channel, some of those bolt action rifles that nobody will bid more than $100 on them. So, I know they're worth about 4. So if I can get them for 2, 2.25, what the hell? Why not? Yeah, if you see a collapse, yes, the market is going to go. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Okay, and the Mosin Nagants, they made 37 million of them. It is not a rare gun. Okay, and you can get a new AR for way less. Okay, it's a tough call because the people there, it's kind of like those Finnish guns. Any of the M27s, those were heavily used. And like the one I had, it shoots like crap. Okay. But yet the going rate is anywhere from 7 to 8. And I don't think any of them have a good bore. They were used hard during the war, put up. They were starting to make M39s, okay, which is kind of rare. And I actually got the M39 about the same price as the beat up M27. And M39 shoots good. The one I really scored on was that M91, if you watched the channel. But I bought at this auction, got it for nothing, and it has like a brand new barrel, and it was rebarreled in 1942. And my hand loads, I just did a video when I went out and shot that thing at 100 yards. That thing is dead on. What a mint bore. That's what you want, okay? And how the market's going to shift, people are hurting for money. So a lot of good stuff is coming up in these auctions. Okay, I just went to Lock, Stock, and Barrels. They must have had 20 Lugers. They had a bunch of broom handles, which those all go over a K. All right, no matter in any condition. A lot of stuff is coming up. Okay, if it's going to hold the value. See, and like Japanese pistols went from one level to where they're astronomical and upwards to a K for any of them. And there's a lot of them around. And you see a lot of people are looking to get their money out. And it's like, this last comment, it's eventually going to correct itself, because if people run out of money or you're holding on to this, I got some guns that are worth a lot and they're rare, but trying to sell them now, are you going to get that value out of them when everyone's, And another thing, the rarer something is, okay, the harder it is to gonna get a guy to spring and pay you some money for it. Okay, but yes, $700 Mosins, that's ridiculous. Okay, it was a popular gun, and see a lot of people want one, but you should have got them when they were, a C note, like I did. Bought 24 of them. I think I sold them for another $20, $30 more than what I had, and that was it. But who knew? Because if I held on to them, if I sell them for, 3.5, I can do that all day long. Yeah, because what they did is during the panic buying, you have to understand, during the panic buying, you had thousands and thousands of people that know nothing about firearms. But they're in a panic. They feel that society is collapsing. So what do they know? 9mm Glock, AR-15. Okay. So that's who were buying these type of guns, or a pump 12 gauge shotgun. That's why 12 gauge buckshot, 9mm, and 5.56 ammo were in demand, went crazy. Okay, I remember 9mm, $80 a box or something at one point in time. It was insane. But this is what these people bought. And I remember going to gun shows. One of the reasons I stopped going to gun shows is when I go in there was no mil surplus. It was all handguns, 9mm handguns, 12 gauge shotguns, and AR-15s, or AKs also, before they got too ridiculously expensive. And that's what they sold. And another thing, you never seen anybody selling the Turkish guns like Canex or anything like that were a lower price, because most people, Glock, Ruger, Springfield are something in a magazine, something that people talk about. A lot of people that really, they hunt in that, but they're not really into guns. Always say that I believe Ruger was a strong company, and in the past, they made a decent product at a decent price that was dependable. Okay, they're bolt action rifles, they're revolvers, all that other stuff. Uh, so a lot of people just go with that. A lot of people still, some of these, well, they're not even old timers. They just don't like Glock plastic pistol. But a lot of people that don't know, well, what do I buy? A Smith and Wesson or this? But Glock's like for a pistol. It used to be Colt. I always wanted a Colt. Okay, but now it's a Glock, and that's what people buy. And what the companies do, the reason you get these weird shortages, I knew a guy that was a sales representative for Remington Arms. How the ammunition factory works is they go by historic sales. So when they set the plant up to manufacture anything, 12 gauge shotgun shells, 22s, 45 ACP, or let's go handgun calibers, 57 Magnum, 38 Special 9mm. What they do is like Remington, they will go by historic sales. We sold in the United States or globally, we sold 5 million rounds of 38 Special. We sold billion rounds of 9mm. So in their yearly production, they will set up to where they'll make 5,000 or 5 million rounds of 38 Special, and they will make 1 billion rounds of 9mm. Now, during the panic, it threw these numbers off. So what these factories are doing, saying, hey, we sold this much. Let's make sure we don't run short. So you make 1 billion rounds of 9mm, put it out there, and now the demand has dropped to where you would sell 1 billion rounds to where now you're only selling 6 million rounds of that billion. This is where you have an excess. And if you're a business, you're buying and selling a product. So if you buy and tie your money up into something that is not selling, now you got the problem that you have dead inventory. Okay, you have inventory sitting that no one is buying. Okay, now you got a problem. Now you're going to have an issue with your cash flow. Because say 50% of your inventory you thought you would sell within a quarter, 2 quarters, half a year, you're only sold 25% in that time. Now you got to get rid of this stuff. Okay, you got to get your money flowing back in to your business. And if you got a shelf with 50 ARs sitting on it, okay, that ain't going nowhere, okay, that's even more money. Because you have to remember, your local gun shop, depending on how big it is, most small ones, they might only order 3 of something or an assortment of different things and calibers and kind of get a discount. But to where these larger operations, where they have a warehouse that, like you see some of them when they do a YouTube video, when he talks about a firearm, there's like 50 of them on the shelf behind. That's why you're seeing this price disparity. And once they move the inventory, they don't order anymore. So that's why I'm trying to tell you guys, it's kind of a temporary thing. This is gonna come back. And with companies going out of businesses 4 or 5 years from now, the prices are going to go up and the supply is not going to be there. Good morning. All right, Robert. If you're talking about mill surplus guns, it's auctions. Okay. I rarely went to a gun show and seen something where I can get a mill surplus gun at a reasonable price. What I do in the last few of them that I bought, okay, were either local auctions. I scored good at 2 local auctions, but you could go to 15 auctions and not find anything, especially if you're traveling, like driving a half hour to the auction house to examine the stuff and that. But yeah, auctions I luck out on. Okay. Some of the stuff you're not seeing a lot come in, like the surplus I've got are Beretta pistols, and they're not MilSerp, they're law enforcement SERP, but same thing, kind of. They're not military issue guns. The 84 BBs are down, and I bought one. I happen to like those pistols, fun pistols, and they hold their value. Okay. So if you find somebody that missed the boat and wants one, they're willing to pay you to get their hands on one. It might not be a local person, but if you advertise in the right place, you can basically get your money. Gun brokers tough. Lock, stock, and barrel auctions, they give a good description. There are some people on the gun broker that are okay, and I bought one or two. I think I bought my M39 off a guy on a gun broker. It was kind of like a private seller. And he just lowered the price down to where when it was all said and done, the gun was in very nice shape. The gun really looked good. And he was like selling it for a C note less than what everyone was asking. Okay. And that's what it was. The bigger auction houses, when you cruise through them, you have to see if they're giving you an accurate description of the bore. If they're not giving you an accurate description of the bore or a detailed description, just in good shape or whatever, I'd avoid them unless you can go there and physically look at the firearm. If they give you a decent description of the bore, now I've got a couple that, however you do it, you go on there like a week before, and I just screw around. Like when they first put it on there, you put these $150, $200 bids in. Okay. And actually, one of these rifles I won, I only put, like, for a gun that usually goes at 7, it was one of the finished ones. I put in a damn bid. I think it's the one that I got issues with, for like 2C or 2 1/4, and I won it. Okay, the M27. But the bore's, crapola. Okay, and I think whoever had it in bolts mismatched, and there were issues there. But I got one for the collection and just plug it in, and searching around looking at descriptions for ones they want 6.5, 7 for. I don't think they're in any better shape than the one that I have. So I ain't gonna lay that money out to get, something maybe slightly better, So I got that as an example. So now if I do a little thing on the guns, I got them there to show you. And really, when you're getting in now, finished Mosins are kind of that. I can't argue with that price because there's not that many of them. If you look at the numbers of finished Mosin production-wise compared to Russian Mosins, all right, and this is another thing, people are ignorant. A finished Mosin is a lot different than a plain Jane Russian Mosin. So if you see some guy sell a finish M27 or an M, the biggest one collector told me is the M2830s. That's one of the highest demand. And people say, well, they want all this money and it's a Mosin Nagant, like the Russian one. It's not. But they don't understand that, and that's why you see a lot of these morons price round receiver World War II production gun, which is right now really 3.5, if it's in good shape with a real nice bore, is what it's worth. And they'll put $750 a grand on it, which it's not worth it. Okay. And if you don't have enough sense to understand the difference between the two guns, if you just look at it and it's like, ooh, Mosin, they sold it for $750, so my Mosin I bought for $90 is worth $750. It's not true. Yes, you are. You cannot. Every single auction tells you they do not warranty function or anything. Okay, if you read through that 10-page description, you bid on something, it's yours. There is no, hey, you misdescribed it or something. No, that don't work. Okay, that's the one downside of this. So you better be able to kind of from the photographs, or like I said, if they give a very generalized description or something, I just pass on them unless I can go and physically look at the gun. Okay. Yeah, there is none of this. I changed my mind. That's the only thing. No, because since the by the end of the 1950s, everyone was fielding a weapon that was selective fire. So you're not going to find any. And by the mid 60s, okay, just about any army that there was replaced their guns with something selective fire. All right. And the reason through the 80s, 90s, and the past 10, 15 years is these far corners of the earth, okay, are getting rid of these guns that can be sold openly as surplus. And now that's not going to happen because nobody is fielding a firearm that can just be turned in and sold on an open market. They're all selective fire weapons now, okay, no matter where you go. I mean, even far-flung regions, you know, got AK-47s at least. I think somebody at one point in time they trade for like $40 on an open black market or the open market. You know, you can go to one of these wonderful garden spots, and if you got $40 in cash, you know, they'll sell you a rusty AK. You know, but what shocked me is I didn't realize the Italians kept that many carbines in reserve. Okay. That really shocked me. A World War II gun like that came in such quantities, they're still selling them after what, like 3 or 4 years? You can still find people that have lots of these guns, the pockets of them. I mean, that must have been, 500,000 firearms they brought in. I mean, that was pretty wild. But I doubt you're going to find any major things. Of course, I don't know. Like I said, the Italian thing shocked me. Um, if there are things stored, like Royal Tiger, they're getting more and more stuff, but that stuff's all scrap iron. It's like they just threw it in a pile and left it basically in the open. You know. No, a lot of that stuff. I think a lot of the Italian guns that came in the 80s were guns that were left like in Romania or wherever in World War II, and they were just lying around. I think that's where a lot of the Italian rifles came in. Okay, because if you notice, the Italians, there are no long rifle versions. Because by World War II, the 91 or the 9140, whatever, the long guns were obsolete and they were all gone, sold, traded, whatever, years ago. The carbines, I think they kept because they show some of them, they put grenade launchers on them and the police would use them for anti riot purposes. So that's why a lot of them were kept, probably. Plus, truthfully, they're a nice, pretty handy, lightweight gun. I mean, it's hard to get used to the friggin' sights and be able to hit anything. But if you do, I've proven, 100, 200 yards, you can still hit something with them if you know how to use the sights. That's the problem. You have to basically remember the sight picture and use somewhat of a Kentucky windage. Okay. And you have to be proficient in order to do that. In other words, shoot the gun a lot. But with the cost of ammunition, that's an issue. And I proved when I ran them 20 videos, okay, each gun, no matter what you say or how they say they're sighted and all this, each gun is different. So you get a good one that shoots straight and you practice with it and you become an expert. And it's still a decent gun. Yeah, they kind of dumped another place. Them guys went to Afghanistan. Another place they used to dump a lot of Gras, a lot of them old obsolete black powder firearms ended up in Afghanistan. Okay, a lot of them. They dumped a ton of them. That was the place all that stuff went. All the arms dealers, the international arms dealers used to take that stuff, drop it off there. And that's why you find a lot of that stuff. You find Verndls, you find Gras rifles. I guess those were popular. I mean, the Russian revolutionaries were issued to things. These guns were passed around. The Gewehr 88 was another one that went to all four corners of the earth. You find them everywhere. But yeah, I don't know where mill surplus is going. Like I said, right now is the time. If you're interested in something that's commercially available, and like he said, you can get for 400, you can get a really nice AR that's functional as compared to a Mosin gun. How's it going to go with the Milsurp? I don't see any new ones coming in. So this is why the price is escalating. Okay. If we have an economic fallout, it's like I said on the M1 Garands when I talked about the values, how it shifts. I remember M1 Garands were hard to find. People wanted a ton of money for them. They're a popular gun like the AR. Okay, and you cannot find one. In 2008, when we had that housing bubble burst and people were in the street with their pants down around their ankles, next thing I know, I go to the gun show and this guy's got a rack of 5 of them. And another thing, the going rate was so high, these dealers were buying them for a lot less and actually reselling them for less than what they were. So we're talking about a $400 drop. Okay, and then gradually as the economy got better, I'd go to the gun show and that guy's got less and less. And then once they're sold, you see the price go up and up gradually and all that other stuff. Well, they didn't come here, and cutting them up into parts ain't going to happen. So that's what I mean. I mean, they're not going to bring auto guns in, and if they're not going to go and cut them up. They probably went and sold them to somebody somewhere. Okay, some wonderful. Yeah, I mean, some of their stuff is ridiculous. There's some guys. There's one guy that went and bought C grades, B grades, or something. And he bought almost $2,000 worth of stuff. I mean, he bought like a half dozen rifles, and he went through each and every single one of them. And as far as I'm concerned, not a single thing he bought was worth more. I mean, some of the ones that were complete and kind of beat up, I'd say, are 182, and any other ones with stuff missing, they're a C note. Okay, the stocks are rotted, broken. They're junk. And I remember I had a bunch of different Enfields. They were in the 80s. I mean, there were so many of them. I just kept the nicest one and so, liquidated the rest of them because what's the point on having a whole rack of them? And they didn't really go up in value for years. Okay. So, like when something happened when I was younger, like I said, I needed a roof on a house or something. I sell some of these things. I used to be able to just put an ad in the newspaper and people come and buy them right up. But I was only asking them a little bit more because if I asked like double of what they were a year, nobody'd buy them. Okay. So, and that's before the internet. Now everybody's all worked up. There's more people interested in military guns and they want them and they'll pay for them. Okay. But then again, what's the value of your money? Okay. I could walk into the Veterans Post on a Friday night with a $20 bill. Walk in there at 7 o'clock in the evening, stay there till 1 in the morning, and leave. Play the jukebox, have a snack, drink some beers, and I'd have change left over in my pocket. Now, if I go into a place, go in, have two or three, buy a friend one, and this and that, leave a $2 tip. That's it. Okay, so again, that's where your money goes. All right. When we're talking, everyone goes, oh, well, 40 years ago. Yeah, but 40 years ago, I think gasoline was about $1 back in the late 80s a gallon. Okay. Or even less than that for a time. It was sub $1 for years. So that's another thing. Your money's not worth that much no more, but it still is not that worthless to pay $700 for a World War II round receiver Mosin Nagant. Okay, that's like I said, that should be 3.5. Okay, if it's really really nice with the bayonet and cartridge boxes and that, okay, then 4. And a little cleaning tools if you had all the accessories, yeah, 4 beans. But yeah. But like I said, where it's going to go, I don't know. And then if the economy does crash, if all the stuff you have invested in the stock market goes south and you're, broke again, because that happened to me. I put stuff in a 401k, it would build up, and then boom, you lost 40% of it. Okay, so everything you earned the past 5, 6 is wiped out. So the system is against you. And like the reason people are selling their guns is it's at a peak. They're trying to get the max value, I think, some of them, or people are just hurting for money. When this economic downfall comes, and it's coming, okay, there's going to be a major shift because all of this, the assassination of this guy, the stuff, the war in Ukraine where they're trying to say Russia's provoking to get NATO to start, all of this is tied in to it. They're going to do some kind of major shift in the economy because the 37 trillion or 27 trillion or whatever it is, our debt, something's got to give. And they're going to pull a fast one. And this is really going to throw the global economy off. And we're going to see some hard times coming. So actually, you guys are telling me you buy a spare pistol real cheap and buy a couple extra cases of ammo if you could afford it just to put them back. And you never know what's going to happen. If this stuff with this, because already now, like I tried to say in the beginning of this, that there's a lot of people on the internet, there's a lot of insane stuff going on. And there's a lot of people that used to be pretty neutral in their broadcasts. A lot of people are calling for some bad things. Okay. People are fed up. And a lot of people have angered people by their ridiculous statements about a situation. Okay, you should never taunt anyone who has been killed. Okay, I don't believe, no matter what you think of the person, that is wrong. And the problem is there's a vast majority of society that believes that. I believe it's wrong. I don't believe that I should go out and approach these people, start an argument, or do anything to them. But the thing is, that's me. There's a lot of other people that don't look at it that way. And, it's bad. Buying parts kits. Well, that's what's coming, and how are you going to build it? I've seen these people building HK style guns and that. And there's a lot of issues that nobody brings up. That these things, when they fold that metal and then bend it, that it creates stress cracks in it and everything. And the future mill surplus. No, it's just like there are still people who collect Civil War guns. Okay, which is a mill surplus gun. That supply dried out at the end of World War II. Okay, but people still trade, buy, sell, collect. If you go to some dealers, that's all he has is 1870 and the past. There are dealers that specialize there. A lot of them are kind of fading with time. One guy I know up in Virginia that he used to have parts and everything. I think he's on old age doing them in. Because these guys are in their 80s and that. Nobody lives forever. Okay. Uh, they were experts at this. They actually had a thriving business for years that they ran. What it'll end up is, if you're savvy and go around auctions and buy these things right, there will be people that will sell mill surplus like we're thinking of, the Moes and the Gants, all this. There will be dealers that do it. It's just that you're not going to get it on a wholesale level on the market no more. It'll be just like collecting old Civil War rifles. I actually had one offered to me, which I remember seeing the gun. The neighbor goes, well, this guy wants to sell it and he wants this for it and that. And it is an actual 1864. It was made towards the end of the war and it's like in mint condition. You can take this thing, load it, go shoot it. Okay. I mean, it's beautiful. But I don't want to, I bought a repro 1861. Granted, I paid some money for it. This is maybe an original, maybe, 8 bills more. All right. But like now, they got a problem liquidating. Who do you go to that'll pay you that for it? It's a beautiful piece. It's an original piece, 100%. I've seen it. I've handled it because I know the antique dealer that the guy bought it from. I looked at the gun, and that was over 10 years ago. And the guy wanted a good chunk of change for it. But then again, how do you get rid of it? But then, the parts kits, they're around, they're expensive, but do you see anybody with the skill set to build them? I mean, because it's a pain. You got to weld, bend, make jigs, and then those things are outlawed. You don't see anything on YouTube about doing that. Or the people there's one guy that made a jig that you could take them cut up receivers. And I mean, he had this thing where you dial it in and you could patch them up and repair the cut up. ATF come down on him big time. Okay. Somebody clever enough can repair them weapons and rebuild them. they'll still be around, they'll surplus, but it won't be the hobby of going through a pile of 40 guns to find one you like type of deal. But I don't know. I've enjoyed the hobby. I'm getting up there in the years. I'm fooling around, like you said, with these guns that used to be in the price range. And eventually, you know, as my age and my health deteriorates, I'm going to have to start liquidating things and just moving on with it. Because you never want to leave a gigantic gun collection because, yeah, I don't want to, eliminate my firearms. But then again, I don't want somebody to just come in and pick it up for nothing. The years of me collecting and that, I'd like to get some of the value back out of it and enjoy it while I'm still above ground, one way or the other. So, yeah, that's the thing. All right, guys. We got a good turnout today. We got about 20 people up there. Let's see. So we had a good turnout. I'm back. I'm going to get some more content up. I may do these. I'm going to try to do Sundays again. So same time, same place, Sundays. I'm glad some guys showed up and we had some discussions here. But stay tuned for the videos. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to cover some of these other topics that aren't about firearms. But I'll do that in videos. I guess nobody wanted to discuss it in the open here. But yeah, thanks for showing up. And I'll be back next week. All right.